Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is May 14th, 2025, and we're going to follow up with Bitcoin here on the daily to start. We will take a look at Ethereum and Solana. We might even take a look at SUI. I've gotten a few requests for that, so we might actually take a look at it today. We'll see if we have time. But first, we want to talk about a few things right off the bat. We did have some economic data that came out on Tuesday. We did talk about this. We have some more economic data that's PPI month over month. Producer price index is coming out, and then some retail sales month over month. But essentially, inflation data came out on Tuesday. And, I talked a little bit about this on Monday on the Macro Monday video, and it came in under year over year and, of course, month over month. So inflation moved down. And that's a very positive sign for the economy at large. Kind of tracks with what we were already looking at in the month over month data leading into, of course, this month. So the year over year, month over month coming in under is a very good thing. And we'll continue to track like the ISM and PMI data as it releases. So on Friday, I will give you an update on where PMI is more important to me personally when I'm evaluating kind of the health of the economy, although retail sales do matter in a big way. So, but retail sales are pretty easy to understand for most, but we might cover PPI as well as it relates to the CPI stuff, and maybe start getting into explaining a little bit more about how the macroeconomics actually fit. And I know that for a lot of people, you're probably sick of the macroeconomic conversation, but there's a lot of people that have been talking about macroeconomics for a very long time on X since the tariff stuff, since the election. And then, of course, the implementation of tariffs, or the talk of implementation, then the actual implementation. And I think that it pays to actually understand how some of this works, because a lot of people have a lot of opinions that they're giving out there. And it's not necessarily that that maybe they don't know what they're talking about. It's more that the many people that they're talking to may not even really understand what those metrics mean. And therefore, it can be easy to misconstrue what the data actually means. So we got the expected CPI print. And, Bitcoin's still just hanging around the highs. Bitcoin's been ripping. We had the nice push off the lows, another push up, and then another push up. That's basically 3 drives off the lows. We'll see, if Bitcoin actually puts in a deeper correction here, but still looks good, still a nice uptrend. When would the high kind of already be in? Well, technically the high is already in, and the high was put in on the Monday candle, right? So we did get a high, but that high didn't come with any divergence outside of momentum divergence. We didn't see any relative strength divergence or RSI divergence. There is some historical divergences, but the most powerful would be in trend bearish divergence. We don't yet have that. And I really wouldn't be looking for a retest of this consolidation unless we saw the 100,000 to 100,700 broken on a close. If it didn't already go down and try to test the top side of that consolidation, then I'd be looking for a test. And in this case, we do see the basis band has now moved to the top side of this consolidation over here, just shy of $99,000, now sitting at $98,680. And of course, closing above the basis band means that Bitcoin is closing in the strong half of the Bollinger Band set here. And if it does breach it, it will enter the weak half of the Bollinger Band set. Now, when I say something like that, what I want to kind of point out is that could potentially lead to a scenario where it enters the weak half and then starts to put in a lower high, and then maybe start a downtrend after a lower high trend reversal setup. That can even happen more locally. There's another way that could happen. And I'm not saying that this is the most likely outcome from where Bitcoin is consolidating, but we could even see something like this where we come up and then get a little bit of an equal high, lower high, maybe even a higher high and a swing, lower high and a close, and then come down and breach, the local structure here on the higher low if it does happen to set or the swing gets taken out. That is something that I'm just being cognizant of, as price is in a very important area for Bitcoin. And just to kind of reiterate what that important area is, let's go ahead and take a look at our local support and resistance zones of interest here as it relates to our Bollinger Band set. And I will tell you that as long as Bitcoin is holding up in this yellow zone here around 101 to 104 by this 1272 Fibonacci extension off the prior cycle high to bear market low, 69 to 15.5. This is 27.2% above $69,000. And just above it is the daily high over here, which was the all-time high, which was also the 5th of December. And this was a very, very volatile day, a very high volume day that put in a high at exactly $104,000. And one of the reasons why I have 101 is because after this candle came in, we saw another closing high put in right there before coming down to try to find support around $95,000 to $96,000. So 101 to 104 is the area. It's also confluent with that Fibonacci extension number at the 1.272. And anywhere above there, I'd expect the local swing high here to get tested, which was a front run of the all-time high green zone over here, which is based off of the first high that was put in that was not closed above at just around, you can call it 106, to that 108. 3 to 400 depending on your exchange. It's almost 400 here on spot, and we had the double top on a closing basis here at 106. So any kind of price action in and above there, I would expect the highs to get ran, and even the all-time high and higher. And you can see that above the all-time high, which is 109,360 here, I'd be looking initially towards the upper third area, somewhere around 110 to 112, probably step it up 112 to 115 from there. If things really start to leg up, then I'd be looking 115 to 120. And to the downside, if we do drop the lows, especially, closing below $100,000, recapturing the swings from this consolidation, then I'm essentially looking to the consolidation high side structure around anywhere from the high side of the consolidation before pushing up to that $98,000, essentially $95,000 to $98,000. Losing the $95,000, $96,000 pivot area would, likely initiate a move back to this weekly higher low close. This being the last weekly higher low on a closing basis at 93.5. Of course, that's also currently the last closing higher low. We have a high right now, and although we have a swing that is technically a swing, higher low to swing high on the daily, this is not a closing higher low, right? So the last higher low is around that 93.5, 93.3. Anywhere below there, we're looking back to the bottom side of the original accumulation range or consolidation range up here at around that 92 to 88.7, where we saw that weekly higher low swing come in at $89,000. So that's kind of where I'm looking for right now for the remainder of the week. And let's check on a few other things. So still no in-trend bearish divergence here. Looks fine. There is, of course, that momentum, this being a regular stochastic momentum indicator, that is telling us that it would turn up in the context of the overbought zone on closes above around 105,200. Now, there is a little bit of divergence here, but it's just corrective and local as it stands right now. If we do start to see this fall out of the overbought zone, we're probably looking at price testing around that $95,000 to $98,000 level. But it's still got a chance above 101 to 104 to push the highs and possibly run higher. And that's that yellow zone. So it's even trading and closing above the upper first standard deviation of the Bollinger Band set here. So still looks good. If we start to lose that, even on a close open and it passes and the basis continues to rise, then you can give it, I would give it room to the downside here to 100K. If it starts to breach below there, we're looking at 98 to the top side of this consolidation here, around that 95 fair game. Anywhere below there, then 93.5. Anywhere below there, 92 to that 88.7. So just kind of the order of operations for conditions that would need to be met for me to be looking for lower. And of course, higher. Again, anywhere back above 104, it's very highly likely that we run the high there. And 106 is fair game to the green zone there, and potentially higher to test the all-time high and higher. So let's go ahead and take a look at, and we'll talk about like the weekly, but let's go ahead and take a look at, we'll talk about the weekly on Friday. Sorry, is what I meant to say. Let's take a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum is trading back and closing back above. So we got the Tuesday candle pushed up nicely to recover the bottom side of this consolidation range here, which is a positive sign for those that hold Ethereum here. But there is a big weekly level here where we saw this consolidation starting to lose and then retest before breaking down to our red zone, which is a weekly, and then the next weekly, and then find it as resistance and then push down to even more weeklies. So essentially the inflection point is still going to be the 550 here. Big weekly zone between, you can just call it 27 to 3K. Want to see ETH start to get above here if you want to take local closures. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a cold here. My bad. 28.55, anywhere above there, I'd look for 3K. It's as fair game to get tested, even if it's just a swing. If we start to see closes above there, that's a very positive sign. That would give Ethereum a wider area for pullbacks. I will say locally, because it did set a higher low here, closes below 2407. Very likely going to test the 23 to 21 area by the basis band here. So just be aware of that. That if Bitcoin, of course, corrects, you're very likely going to see Ethereum correct. And if it takes out the higher low structure, lower lows, fair game down to 23 to 21. Anywhere below there, we're looking right back to essentially, we're looking back to right around $2,000 in here to that 1956. And I would take, I'd take the structure right here where we saw the lows on a close and the highs on a close. This is actually coming in at 1864. So that would be the next big area below 21 to 23. Above 3K, there is the opportunity for ETH to test up, 31 to 3150, maybe even 3200. That would put it right in the thick of the lows here before the lower low. So that is something to keep aware of for Ethereum. And Ethereum can run really hard and rip through some of these levels, but we're working off of a very expanded structure here. So a deeper correction or a consolidation is something that the bulls would like to see. Bears, of course, want to see a deeper correction that takes out structure and results in a trend reversal setup. But as it stands right now, you got to give it a chance. Don't fade the trend until the end of the trend. And we're not quite there yet with Ethereum. We'll check in on the weekly with this as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at Solana. And for Solana, right in the major area that I want to see. So we did see, and I saw this the other day, this was Tuesday as well, doing the same thing as Ethereum, nice higher low. If it takes out this this low, that is a little bit of a trend break here at 166. Be aware that 160 is basically in the cards, somewhere around 160 by the basis band, down to the next high side structure around, I would even just say 150 to 160. Anywhere below there, it's in danger of taking out this last equal low swing structure to low structure here, basically between about 140, 141 to 144 there. But I would still give it a chance. This is still a trend. Bulls want to see consistent closures, especially closes on the weekly above 180 would look really, really good. Start to reclaim some of the areas above there, right around 190 would look perfectly good as well. And that, as you can see, is just shy of the upper second. If Bitcoin starts to push up and Ethereum and Solana do the same with it, and start to, especially if they start to outrun it, that upper second would stretch out into the 190. And then you're probably looking around the 195 to 200 area by the upper third, and then that 209 to 210 is what needs to be taken out. And then, yeah, let's look at SUI real quick. SUI on the daily looks pretty good. Very clear higher low structure is actually pretty far away at 312. So, you know, as long as it's a correction back to where this basis band is, my little 358 to 373 is fair game to this 618 at essentially 350, 347, 350. If we do start to see closures below the 312 region, then, you know, we're probably looking at minimum a consolidation and maybe a trend shift and trend reversal set up with lower highs, but I would still give it a chance. You know, it's still in very good position after this nice trend break and then rally up with the nice rally off the lows, nice drive up, higher lows. So we've got our 3 drives there for our trend. Could it still put on some more? Yeah, absolutely. Especially if Bitcoin starts to leg up, this is going to look really good because it's a big expansion. This is going back into contraction. So this is this is a nice setup. I would want to see consolidation above 350 if it does just want to sit around and consolidate. Otherwise, be aware of that higher low, even on a close at 327 to the low wick there at 312. So there you go. That's what I got for you today. To the upside for SUI, man, this can leg up hard, especially the way it's come off the lows. One of the big things is, yeah, it hit the 420 area and just kind of swung above it. Anywhere above the highs here, you know, I got to look back to around the 470 to 475, kind of where the close opens are coming in here, and then it's fair game to the highs again. So, looks good, man. Looks good. So, for those of you that are in alts, you want to see Bitcoin maybe push up one more time and then let things go crazy. Otherwise, for constructive price action, a deeper correction is and or a nice consolidation cool down is preferred for the bulls. And then we come back to it later. But I will follow up on Friday with you all. I do appreciate every one of you that watches and shares and likes these videos. And please go ahead and continue to do so. You know, I'm out here just trying to keep people informed on what's going on in the market from my perspective. And I hope that you find some value in it. And I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all that being said, Landy out. Take care.